We always knew that the CFMEU was one selfish mob, but to now push for a 9-day fortnight just defies any logic. Maybe they've been living in a cave hibernating for the entire year, Michael Kroger.
Look, in the current economic crisis, facing Australia and the world, what can you say? People pushing for a 9-day fortnight? What at the employer's risk? I mean, really, that's not serious. I mean, you can't take these people seriously. Listen, sorry, mate. Can I just make one other point about what we're talking about the UN? If any of these world leaders were serious, mate, they'd have a 2025 target, a 2030 target, 35-40, 45-50. Why? Because it would tell the public exactly what it's going to cost in jobs and prices immediately. Not this whole it'll be 30 years. Well, no one's worried about 30 years. If you made everyone have a 2025 target, they'd be running for the hills, like Albo had to run for the hills, abolishing his 2030 target. This is utter nonsense, this whole thing.
That's a good question for when we hit a next election. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Kroger. Very good. Just back to the CFMEU, Michael Costa, you would have had to deal with these unions when you were a minister in the Labor government of New South Wales. How hard is it when they become such dunderheads and go for things that are beyond the expectation of the public?
Well, Chris, I also dealt with them at the Labor Council where I was the secretary, and we were in constant negotiations to try and control the more militant elements of the building industry. And as you remember, the BLF, which was a rogue union, ended up being deregistered with the support of the union movement. Look, the problem I think you're seeing here with the CFMEU is they're under pressure. You saw last week that various divisions of the CFMEU want to walk away from them. You've got the mining division is finally woken up and realises that they're in bed with the wrong people, and even the manufacturing division. So I think this is a strategy to try and rally the troops because they're under pressure. In terms of the claim itself, it's obviously absurd. They're using the contractors to put pressure on the big builders. The government ought to just come out and say that any contractor or builder that signs one of these contracts is not getting a government contract. End of game, mate. End of game.
Well read. Well read. Now, just when we thought the New South Wales Cabinet would decide on a major shift in drug policy, they've squibbed it, Michael Kroger. The stoush wasn't even on the agenda at today's meeting. But that doesn't tell me it's off the agenda.
Well, I think it probably is off the agenda. Thank goodness. I mean, Gladys has got other things to worry about. The New South Wales government's done a tremendous job in the recent crisis, and so is she. And the priority for the New South Wales government, Chris, as it is for every government, is to protect small business, protect men and women on the land, protect their employees, to make sure our economy can survive the next year, because we are going to face a great crisis when JobKeeper runs out at the end of March. That's what every state and federal government should be focused on. It's clearly Morrison's focus. Going on to these other things at this time, no way, mate. And I think that's probably why, Chris, it's off the agenda. Hopefully it won't come back on anytime soon.
An annoying distraction. Now, Michael Costa, lots of talk today about improving hotel quarantine, also forcing return travellers to take a COVID test before they depart. I actually like Alan Joyce's idea. If the vaccine is out and about, get the vaccine before you jump on a plane and come to Australia. Is that being too hard-headed?
No, I actually agree with both propositions. I think if you're going to jump on a plane to come back to Australia, you ought to at least have had a COVID test and been negative. And, it wasn't that long ago that all of us had to line up to get immunisations when we went overseas. I just don't understand what the argument is. I think it's a no-brainer. They ought to do both things. We've seen what the consequence of these things coming into the country once you've virtually eliminated it is. It comes from an external source, and let's deal with that external source. The real issue is the cost of all of this, of course, and I think we've got to be sensible about this. I mean, at the moment, everybody's bearing the cost themselves directly in terms of quarantine. I think, there ought to be some sort of movement there and force those two particular policies into place.
Yeah, this is a massive process, a massive system in care and cost to create hotel quarantine.